Hello, stellar people, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Trey, and today is the final day. Yes, the final day of the Artist Bootcamp. This is the 31st, Friday, and today we'll be doing shapes, heads and hands, mannequin, anatomy, sculpture, and gesture. But we are returning back to our original form, right? We went Super Saiyan, and now we're returning back to our regular. Like, this is the basics that I usually do as a workout program. You can go hard like we did on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday through Thursday, but now we return back to our standard. And we start, of course, with shapes. So we have our shapes, new layer, cannot forget this time. Okay, we got this nice purple, and a B for the brush tool. Let's make that a little smaller. And let's go. And hold. Okay. Yep, I'm still making the janky circles. But it's okay. Just keep moving. And this is the final day. 10 days. 10 of 10. Nice. But we're not done yet. This is our final one. Can't stop now. Can't stop. Keep moving. So this is to get our hand and eyes hopefully on the same page. Hopefully doing what we wish to be done. A great warm-up exercise. So the basic shapes are circle, square, rectangle, which is a modified box, and the triangle. And this is just part of our workout program. Try to make this, a habit. They say if you do something, I think it's 20 or 30 days, over a long enough span of time, it can become ingrained as a habit. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. And that is basic shapes. And of course, we were doing the shapes in space. We'll do that briefly. So a circle, which can be flat on, will start to become an ellipse as it goes back in space. And yeah, again, we're not being precious about it. We're just trying to get the concepts out. And we understand. We've been doing this. Okay, so put some perspective on this. Square, falling backwards. Square. And it just gets more and more dramatic until it's just a line. Falling forward. And mostly just have fun. This is the last day, almost like the last day of school, where you're like, I have no worries. Just have fun. So triangle just gets more dramatic as it falls at an angle, and falling forward, it's about the same. But this has been our training program. Now let's move on to 3D shapes. 3D shapes, turn that. And of course, the 3D shapes are the cube, the sphere, the cylinder, almost blanked out on that one, and the cone, and the pyramid. And mostly they're given their 3Dness by light, because hitting the form in space causes shadow and highlights. But let's not talk about it. Let's do it. A new layer, and away we go. Swoop, swoop. We're just trying to keep ourselves sharp. And I hope you have learned something from all of this. I think I have. I do this every every January, I usually have some kind of getting back into the flow type of deal because I'm out of shape after the holidays and try to get back into shape artistically. And so this, I just decided, like, why not do it for the channel? And I think I've learned things, which is good. They say if you can attempt to teach it, to try to figure out if I actually know things, and there's things that I can improve on, things I don't know if I'm getting across correctly or not. But as long as I'm trying to move forward, but also trying to help others who are thinking about trying to get themselves into an artistic mode. That was the pyramid, the cones, but it's been fun, but it's been a lot of work. Man, these videos, especially the long ones, they were a beast to edit and all that. But this was 3D shapes. And of course, you can try to move them in space. So for example, a cube moving in space, if you try to tilt it on its side, just trying to imagine things moving and grooving in space can help think about the world and spatial relationships of everything. Because as an artist, you have to think about, okay, if I'm going to do a bird's eye view, or say Superman is up in the sky and he's looking down on things and whatnot, how would that look? And does that, or if a story, what am I trying to say? And just play around with shapes and it's all good. Okay, let's do a cylinder, moving all around. The cone is like almost like a witch's hat. But yeah, just play around with shapes and just see what happens, see what you can make. And that is 3D shapes. And next up, head and hands. Now for heads, we're going to return back to the start. Right? This is the skull, which is the underlying structure of every head. We all have pretty much the same stuff going on, just variations in the bits. So looking at this wireframe head, we have the large circle for the cranium. We can have a center dividing line, which would go through this center. The eye sockets, nasal cavity, out here. The mandible, but the mandible makes the skull proper into an oval shape. And then on this little mock-up, the hairline, eyebrow ridge, eye line, nose line, mouth line. And then side planes for that dimensionality, because on the skull, it's lit. And so this side is in shadow. So it helps give it form in space. So let's do one. So skull, to make it more interesting, the 3/4 turns are more interesting, especially for this skull. So let's start a new layer, and we have this big old cranium represented as the circle, and that the center line is now altered to be shifted to one side or the other. We can extend that mandible down, and comes forward. This is a side plane, comes across, and you can see the light's hitting, which will help me define where the side plane is. It goes over, down, across it's zygomatic arch around the cheekbone and comes towards the chin. Side plane. And then we have the hairline, which is near the top. Swoosh. The eye line. Well, eyebrow ridge, or the eyebrow. The eye line, which will be within the middle of the sockets. The nose line. Swooshy swoosh. And the teeth are where the mouth would be. But also, you can see on this, the edge, right? It comes out for the eyebrow ridge, cuts in, and then back out to go around the cheek. The cheek goes into the teeth, your upper teeth. And then the mandible has this bit. And then it comes into the upper teeth. The lower teeth. And that's attached by jaw muscles that help you open and close your mouth, helps you talk, all of that. And that was the basic skull in 3/4 turn. 3/4 looking up. Hey, hey, hey. All right, so the basics are the same. New layer. And the largest part is the cranium, where your brain is housed. And then we have this far side, right? Well, let's follow the forehead to the eyebrow ridge, comes in for the eye, comes out for the cheek, around the cheekbone, comes down to the chin, chin across. You have the mandible, a center line, which would go right down the nose, side plane. And again, I'm being hit by light, so you can see this area of light. And that's the path I'll follow. For the side plane, whoosh, down to the ear is just behind the mandible, between the eye line and the nose line. So, and the eyebrow ridge and the hairline, chin, neck. But that is my head. Right. And the more you do it, the better you can see things. And, the basic mechanics and moving that around in space. You get the hang of it. And that was heads. Now, let's do a hand. The peace sign. Or rabbit ears, if you're doing shadow puppets. So, it's faded back. Let's do a new layer. Cha-cha. And so, what's the basic construction? The basic construction is a modified squash box, because there's planes on this. And it's also an unusual shape. Right? There's this thumb area, but I see the box, a flattened box here, coming across. Right? This would be the underlying structure that I see. Fingers coming off of this box and the thumb. Right? And then we just flesh it out. So we have the thumb coming here, pinky, the ring finger, and there's a lot of folds, and your hands are great because they're so dynamic. They can be positioned in all sorts of ways. The middle finger, careful now, and the index, and that is a hand. Peace. And now let's do some anatomy. All right, once more from the top. We have the trapezius in a spear tip shape coming along the back, mostly seen on the neck and upper shoulder. We have the deltoid, shoulder proper, the tricep on the back of the upper arm, and from back to front is tricep, brachialis on the side in green, the bicep in the front in purple. Now, front to back It's bicep, brachialis, and tricep on the back. On the lower part of your upper arm is the brachioradialis, and that goes from the outside of the lower part of your upper arm out and comes inwards towards the thumb. And then there are extensors and flexors in your forearm that help to move your wrist, hands, and fingers. On the trunk, we have the pectoralis. Now, the borders of the pectoralis are the clavicle, which is this T-shaped bone, right, with the sternum, makes it like a T shape, comes across the body. Clavicle, sternum, comes across your rib cage, your upper rib cage, and inserts into your upper arm. Pectoralis. The latissimus dorsi comes from the back. It's a major back muscle and comes towards the front, wrapping towards the front. The external obliques covers the lower part of your rib cage and attaches to the pelvic wings. And those are your love handles. We have the rectus abdominis in the center. And there's the upper and lower. And about the belly button is what I consider about the dividing line. It's just below it, but approximate. Of your upper thigh, there is the gracilis, and your inner thigh, the adductor longus, which is coming from the inner part of your thigh towards the middle, the sartorius, which comes from the hip, the outside hip, and comes across your thigh and inserts into the inner part near your knee. We have the rectus femoris, the center of your thigh, the vastus lateralis on the side of your thigh. We have the patella, which is your kneecap, and the patellar tendon comes from the kneecap down to your ankle. The gastrocnemius is the calf muscle. There are two heads, one that can be seen from the inside of the leg, of your lower leg, and the other can't be seen from the front. To the just outside of the patellar tendon is the anterior tibialis. Anterior tibialis. On the outside of your lower leg is the fibularis longus. And between the anterior tibialis in purple and the fibularis longus in gold is the red extensor digitorum longus. And now let's map this to mannequins and statues. So for mannequins, I have this mannequin. And first we'll do the simple shapes version. First, let's take it back a little bit. No, that's too light. 80%? Sure. New layer. And of course, B for the brush tool. Circle for the cranium. A very large circle, because that's where your brain. Extend the mandible down to make this oval shape for the basic head, the neck, and egg shape for your rib cage, a box for the hips. Now this is a side plane. You can see the light hitting it from this side because there's a shadow here. So I'll use that to form the box sides. It's the box. Circles will be the joints. So your shoulder, your elbows, your wrists, your kneecaps, and your ankles. And the cylinders will complete the limbs. Right, limbs. And you can tell the difference between this mannequin and some of the statue we've been doing because there's no contrapposto. It's just standing. So let's continue. Cylinders for the legs, cylinders for the legs, Cylinders for the legs. Let's add some feet. I've been forgetting my feet lately. Hands. And that is, well, there's also a spine. And that is the mannequin with simple shapes. Now let's do the muscles mapping. New layer. All right, circle for the head. Mandible makes it an oval. And neck. We have the forgot to turn that off. Let's turn that off so I can test myself. Okay. Trapezius. The clavicle, sternum. Clavicle, sternum. Clavicle, sternum, pectoralis coming across the upper rib cage and into the upper arm. Clavicle, sternum, across the upper rib cage and into the upper arm. Deltoids. Shoulders. The arm from front to back is the bicep, brachialis, and the tricep on the back. Bicep, brachialis, tricep on the back. The radiobrachialis, you can see it here, it comes from the lower part of your upper arm, comes towards the thumb. And there's extensors and flexors. Brachioradialis coming toward the thumb. Extensors and flexors. We have the latissimus dorsi coming from the back, wrapping towards the front. The external obliques, the love handles. I have to say that every time in that exact way. The rectus abdominis is your stomach muscles. Upper, there's the belly button. Upper and lower tucks into the pelvic region. We have the serratus anterior, right? The lightning bolt ones across the rib cage. Serratus. We have the gracilis of the inner thigh. The gracilis. Adductor longus, coming from the middle part of your thigh. Well, the inside of your thigh towards the middle of your thigh. There we go. The sartorius, coming from the hip, wrapping across and inserting into the inside knee area. Sartorius. We have the rectus femoris in the middle of the thigh. Rectus femoris. And the vastus lateralis on the outside. But there's also the vastus intermedialis underneath the rectus femoris. And the vastus medialis on the inside of your thigh. The patella is your kneecap. The patellar tendon comes from the kneecap to the ankle. Patellar tendon. The anterior tibialis is just on the outside of the patellar tendon. We have the fibularis longus on the outside of the lower leg. Fibularis longus. And the extensor digitorum longus between the two. And the gastrocnemius is your calf. Gastrocnemius. And those are the muscles mapped to this mannequin. Now, time for statues. Statues. Where are you at? Okay. So today we're going to do a seated statue. I can't remember exactly what this one's name is. Let's see if I have it. The boxer. The boxer of Kyrinai, something like that. The boxer. I really like this one. In bronze, lovely Greek statuary. So let's make some shapes and map some muscles. So let's see, V 40%, 50, yeah. Go to new layer. Okay, so B for the brush tool. As usual, the cranium is this large shape for your brain. Comes down with your mandible down to make it an oval. This ear, got that line. Eyebrow ridge, hairline, center line, side plane. You can see with the light. Goes around. He's got a neck. We have the circle for the rib cage. Well, an egg shape for the rib cage. We have a box for the hips. And since he's seated, there's no contrapposto, but we know his hips. And hips don't lie. And we have the circles for joints. Deltoid, elbows, knees, wrists, knees, ankles. And we connect those with cylinders. Cylinders for these. And this man is chiseled. Right? And that's, again, what I like about statues. Is that in the, I won't say the ancient days, back in the day, they had a lot of non-clothed figures, shall we say, and well-defined in muscles. And so they're a great way to study. The feet, can't forget the feet, and the hands. I think one is covering the other. And that is the boxer of Kurenai, something like that. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but something like that. So now let's map muscles as best we can with this seated figure. So again, start from the top. I usually place the head down just for placement's sake. The mandible makes it an oval, more or less. The neck. The trapezius for the upper shoulder. This man, look at that. You can see it. The trapezius. We have the clavicle. Clavicle, sternum, clavicle, sternum. Pectoralis comes across the upper ribs. Clavicle, sternum comes across the upper ribs and into the upper arm. The deltoid for the shoulder. Deltoid for the shoulder muscles. The arm, we have the bicep, the brachialis, the tricep on the back. Again, bicep, brachialis on the side, tricep on the back. The brachioradialis, which you can see here, comes from the outside of your the lower part of your upper arm, and towards the thumb. So outside comes towards the thumb. And there's extensors and flexors. Extensors and flexors of your forearm. We have the latissimus dorsi, which would be here, wrapping towards the front. The external obliques, lower rib cage, and you can see the love handles here. Right, there's a little external obliques. The rectus abdominis, can't quite see all of it, but we know it's there. We have the gluteus maximus, what he's sitting on. We have the gracilis on the inner thigh, the adductor longus coming towards the middle of the thigh. Adductor longus. The sartorius coming from the hip and coming towards the inside of the knee. So the knee, we have the rectus femoris, middle of the thigh. The vastus lateralis on the outside. Vastus lateralis. The vastus intermedialis is underneath the rectus femoris. Vastus medialis is on the inside of the thigh. We have the kneecap. Patellar, the patella. The patellar tendon coming towards the ankle. Patellar tendon towards the ankle. Towards the ankle. The gastrocnemius has two heads, but can be seen mostly, the one head, on the inside of your lower leg. Just outside of the patellar tendon is the tibialis anterior. The tibialis anterior. I can't quite see it from that side, but we know it's there. And on the outside is the fibularis longus. Fibularis longus. And between the tibialis anterior, fibularis longus is the extensor digitorum longus. Extensor digitorum longus. The calcanea soleus is on the right. What are the muscles? Semimembranosus, semitendinosus, and the hammies of the thigh. I think we did. I think we did it. Let's bring that. Yeah. So that was that was the boxer of Curino. I'm not sure. It's Greek. It's all Greek to me. But I like this. I like this statue. It's really nice. But that concludes the statuary. And now it's time for gesture. That's right, the last day with gesture. Where are you at? So in gesture, you can work up the basic forms. So this is the very, very briefest Etch-a-Sketch figure. Well, it's just a step above a stick figure. And then you can work that up to what we were doing with the mannequin and the sculpture. And then we can work that up even more. But usually I start with something very loose just to get my ideas out. And that's what we're going to be doing with gesture. This is an example of Beautiful Beast Kiss, where I was just doing poses to figure out if I find something that I like, I can work that up. And this is what I came up with. Another example is Lore of the Silver Hand. A wandering swordsman, mercenary type. And you just work out all the poses that you can think of, just working it. Work it. But today, I thought we'd do action poses. All right, so I just typed in photography, action poses, and this is what I got. I like this one. Right, there's a bit of a swooshy, which is a great way to describe something. Swooshy. So I make a circle, usually for the head, just for placement, and then I work it out. I like that. Swooshy. Rib cage, hips, leg placement. This is the leg she's standing on. So wop, and then wop. And again, they don't have to be precious. You just drawing, having fun. I like to do these as cool down sometimes, just for fun. Yeah, it doesn't have to. You don't have to make everything into a big illustration. You just want to draw something cool. And sometimes when I'm drawing, I feel the urge at a certain point to make it more. It's like, ooh, I like that, and then I make it bigger, grander, whatnot. But sometimes it's just what it is. It is what it is. That's kind of cool. What else? That's a cool one. Right. Midair, like Tarzan coming down on some nefarious leopard or something. I don't know. So head for placement. His arms are outstretched. Egg for the body, or the rib cage, the hip box, hip box, and then the legs. Like one is back, and one is coming forward. And I like how you can make, just with simple lines, something interesting. I like that. But of course, we can always push it more. And sometimes gestures are just cool on their own. So this I like. How's his foot? His foot is like this. His other leg is like this. But yeah, I implore you to just have fun. Especially in the beginning. Sometimes I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to make good stuff, or do something for the grams or for social media and all that. And it's like, just draw and have fun. It was fun when I was little, and there was no pressure. You can do that again. Just have fun. Hi-ya! Tarzan's gonna get you. I don't know why I'm fixated on it. I think anyway. Do I like this one? Yeah, it's not bad. We're just sketching, cooling down, non-intimidating drawings, just hanging. Right. He's got this leg going down, and you don't see his other foot really, or at least I can't. So it's at an angle where you have no phantom limb. I don't know. What else? I like this one. So, head circle, her head placement comes down, and his deltoid is in front of his face. It's very tiny, but I like that pose. So I'm going to draw that pose. And sometimes you can add the shapes and some muscles all at the same image. Right? There's no right or wrong. Just draw if it looks. He's got his fingers. This reminds me of the, telekinesis or some kind of power thing going on, where he's fluxing his Akira powers or something. And I always forget what the name. Tetsuo was the kid with the powers, right? No, Kaneda. Kaneda was the kid. I think Kaneda was the kid with the power. Akira was the little kid with the powers. I'm sorry, I'm not spoiling Akira. Go read Akira, it's great. So anyways, that's that. What else? Let's scroll down a little bit. And sometimes you just want to test out poses. Because some things you're like, okay, I've seen that. Superhero poses and all that. And sometimes you want something unique or Sometimes there's a pose that you've always wanted to draw. I like this one. That's kind of cool, right? I don't know what it is. It's like a street dance, ballet, flying kick, all rolled into one. Maybe she's dabbing all at the same time. She's in it. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I look cool doing it. And that's cool. Right? It's got the toe pointed. Chop, sucky, pow. Like whoosh. And that foot is like that. Right? That's pretty cool. What else? Let's flip it. Okay. I like this one. Like, who doesn't like a lady with two knives? Or right? That's cool. Right? In a 90s sort of, I don't know. I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. When I start to ramble too much, it means I need to end this. Because either I'm having too much fun or I'm just mouthing off. Where's that other? Come on. Come on, bro. Gotta get that other stabby arm in there. Stabby, right? And yeah, nothing too... Oh, I like this one. Yeah, I can almost use that for a beautiful beast kiss. So you got head, oval, slight neck, shoulder tilt. This knee's coming up, so there will be that tilt. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're looking up. But I like it. And he has all of his limbs outside of his body, right? Well, except the knee maybe, but we can tell what's happening pretty well. It's like pow, and shoulder, arm. But yeah, it has just, for me, enough straight, more or less kind of curvy, angle. Right, those dynamics are working for it. I like it. Do we have one more in us? No. I kind of like that one. Yeah. So, although that one's cool too. All right, 2. This one, then we'll call it a wrap. This one, I'm going to try to render this as simply as possible. As simply as possible, right? Yeah. But yeah, sometimes just as little lines as possible and then just leave it. Don't need to do nothing to it, just leave it. Okay, this guy, last guy, and he's midair also. I seem to have a pattern here. I like people jumping in midair. I think I've always wanted to do a Spider-Man illustration where he's in midair, twisting, turning, doing Spidey things. Because who doesn't like Spider-Man? Just arms back, right? Okay, right. We're super loose. Just keep it. And this leg's back, and this leg is slightly forward, and this arm is like this. How was that hand? I can't quite tell. And sometimes if you can't tell, just make it up. Right? It's your drawing. Ooh, maybe he is Spider-Man. And he does that whip thing, right? Yeah. You can see the thread. That Spider-Man. Anyways. So that was gestures, action poses. Congratulations, everyone. We have done it. We have completed the 2-week Artist Bootcamp. Congratulations. Now, moving forward, this is a baseline. This is what I do when I don't know what to do as an artist. And my personal unsolicited advice on what to do as an artist, whether beginner, advanced, or intermediate, is three things. One, have a project. Know what you want to go. If you want to be a comic artist, make comics. If you want to be an animator, make animation. An illustrator, make illustrations. If you want to paint, paint. That's key number one. Always do what you love first. And then, two, this artist boot camp is an aid for like next steps, right? You know you want to get better with the figure and moving shapes in space and anatomy and all of that. So this program just gives you a way to do that consistently. And I find that whenever I don't know what to do, I go through my shapes, my heads and hands, my mannequin study, my sculpture stuff, anatomy, whether deep or just a brief overview, and then gesture. And then going through those motions, whenever there's a pause or whenever I'm just feeling blah, if I do that, then I can go back to my projects and I feel better. So if you're a beginner, I would start with what we did on the first week. The first week was the basic stuff. And then do that for as long as you can to build up a habit. And of course, tailor it to you. Change it, adapt it, morph it, make it yours. If you don't want a certain part or it doesn't apply to you, take it out, shove it away, and then add stuff. In the course of doing, you'll add stuff that you like, and it'll make it better for you. If you are intermediate, do the week 2, what we did all this week. Right? You add the shapes, the heads and hands, the mannequin, anatomy, anatomy in depth, and then gestures. And that's the intermediate level. But always, always have a project that you're deeply passionate about and can do, right? If I have a project, I don't need to really think. It's like I'm learning on the fly as I'm doing things. I'm figuring things out. My mind is firing on all cylinders because it's something I'm passionate about, and you'll figure it out. Even if you don't in the beginning, if your passion is in it, your heart is in it, you'll figure out all the steps and little things that need to be done to get it done. And I feel that's the best way to learn as an artist. This boot camp is supplementary. It's great for when I'm, trying to get back into a flow and all that, but have a project and go from there. And that was the Artist Bootcamp. Thank you so much for joining me. It has been a pleasure. My workout buddy. My name is Trey. You can find my work at treyhodges.com. Take care, keep shining. Power to all the creators out there. And bye.